There's a number. There's a number in America that people are afraid to produce. The people that would be concerned with the knowledge of this number are afraid to produce that number, first of all. It is not that they know for sure that it exists. It's a number that has to do with the people who work in projects such as the Innocence Project, who are in campaigns like to free people they know didn't do it, been wrongfully accused and wrongfully condemned, and stories like Daniel Holtzsclaw story have thought of they have thought of a certain notion, and they have stopped before trying to calculate that number. That certain notion is how many people then are there in our prison system who are wrongfully accused, have been condemned, and did not do it. And it's a number that, of course, should be shared with people, because once you're able to do this seriously, you would also be considering another number that's almost part of the same group of people who have been given absurdly, excessively abusive sentences for something that they were found out to have done, but compounded with other things and other, they ended up getting ridiculous sentences. But let's just focus on the number that are people who actually didn't do it. And it is, like I said, the same because, okay, the number is obtainable. It is, one can calculate, can produce it simply by definitions and then counting how many of those definitions there are. It's a number that is easy to produce, easy to calculate, because people who are in the system of the judicial system, lawyers, judges, all the people that have to do with our judicial penitentiary reality mechanisms and systems of the country, and what happens in the courtroom and what results in people going to jail or not, can describe eloquently those cases that are apparently have been wrongfully processed and are very likely innocent. We talk about this today, and somehow it doesn't seem to strike a nerve of anger or of shock in anybody. We simply say, oh, well, that's the end of that discussion. Of course, if you have been arrested and have seen the fear of the overpowering reality of the judicial penitentiary system, where all of a sudden everything can have variance around the notion of adding or taking years or days or decades of freedom. Well, this kind of starts going into something else. But this number is calculable. It is producible. We can actually arrive at a number that says, well, that means that very likely, more or less, approximately, there must be 2.5, 3,000, 1,500, what have you, this number will be, innocent people that have been snagged into the combined almost synergistic evil, instead of positive synergy, the combined forces of judicial evil within, that occurs within, as meanness and evil and bad occurs in any situation that you can imagine on this planet. Combined situation, combined forces of the judicial, penitentiary, police systems. Daniel Holtzsclaw story, my personal view, my personal belief is that he might have done something very, very innocent, something to trigger maybe one other of these women, maybe the initial one, or something that was just enough. Maybe he flirted. Maybe he only flirted and tried to be friendly. But it was enough to create a situation when he was with his chief, the guy that worked with the lady that they decided to prosecute him and fire him before anything was known. Since that Daniel was lying about, maybe asked, were you inappropriate with any of them, with a woman when these people, when you stopped them, or he was bugged about something else. That I think Daniel grew up in a very righteous environment, a religious environment, and what happens to those of us who do, and this might be the harder part for his family to recognize, is that sometimes we actually are completely fine. Let me just say that first. But sometimes we chase ourselves with, we want to play, we want to, maybe we do something that we consider bad, and then we feel guilty about it, and he may have done things that were innocent, like, for example, let's say when he didn't do protocol things, like he left his computer on in his car. But then we can't bear that we're bad, that we didn't do something good, we didn't do something the right way. God is overly demanding. It's a thought I just had. And so we lie about it. We can't bear admitting it, and this happens every day in millions of people's lives. Somebody smart wants to say, "Oh, you think you're so good, you're so righteous," is thinking, and they said, "But didn't you do this? Or don't tell me that that's not what you were intending." And the person says, "No, absolutely not," and they swell up with righteousness and pride. So what my theory is that his boss maybe said, "Did you leave the computer on this time in the car again," or something like this, or were you fraternizing with the woman when you pulled her over? And Daniel said no, and this caught the same desire for being good and righteous in his chief, in his boss, and he decided that he's not going to allow Daniel to lie at all. This expectation that he has to be 100% entirely sincere is perhaps a devastating force in humanity today. Judgmentalness. And they decided, you can clearly see. That woman, I'm not saying I'm not doing this right. I'm taking too long already. And I wanted to, the lady whose video I saw, the investigator, the journalist investigator, did an optimal job. But what really she made evident, without making a big fuss about it in the video, actually, although it was so glittery, so well produced, and I think it's important, that. Anyways, all of it was very interesting. But she makes a point that is actually the killer point that she makes, which is showing that these witnesses were trying to satisfy his chief, his boss, in accusing somebody, in accusing Daniel, and are accusing a police officer, because they don't say it was Daniel, they say a police officer. Two of the women that are amazingly caught in this video get up saying, "Are you happy now?" Basically, are you saying, did I accuse sufficiently for what you were looking for? They're just trying to please them. And of course, the archetype of the prostitute, the person that's a street person of Oklahoma City, and we know, us Americans, we know exactly the personality, and I don't mean to be judgmental. I'm saying we know how these people think and how they feel and how they live, and how in reality they're broken souls that maybe lie, but what we highlight is that they lie, but in reality they're trying to be liked, they're trying to be approved, they're trying to be accepted, they want to be happy, they're tired of the pain. And so you can see exactly what happened. This woman, unbelievable. I can't believe I saw this video last night. And of course it immediately takes you to what is wrong with our judicial system when we see so clearly the knowledge that there is an innocent person in jail, or that they were all wrong about how they want to be accusing him, and they should throw out the case and get him out of jail tomorrow. What is wrong with the judicial system when we can't react that way, when we're stuck in prisoners of this belief that a written, designed artifact of mankind, a system, a design of law and punishment, cannot easily be diffused, that we have to honor it like it was life itself, at the cost of destroying life.